Welcome to the More Than Just a Doctor podcast. I'm your host, Lil Surprenant MD. I'm a life coach for physicians, a practicing hospitalist, a wife, a mom of 2 boys, a reader, a dancer, a dolphin enthusiast, and all the things. Just like me, you're more than just a doctor, and that's what we're going to talk about each week. Doctor stuff, regular life stuff, and all the things that make life rich and interesting. I'm so glad you're here. Let's get started. Hello, my friends. It's Lil. This is podcast episode number 15 of More Than Just a Doctor. I've got a short but sweet episode today aimed at creating satisfaction at work. But really, my goal here is to give you all a lighter frame for some of the things that happen to us in the work world, in regular life. So first, I want to start out with a little story. So last week on Tuesday, I was meeting my friend for happy hour for a glass of wine and some cheese board. Yay. Good times. So anyway, she comes in a few minutes late. She's hurrying from a work meeting, and she's got a text from work, and she's like a little bit in a frazzle, and she tells me this story. And I'm sure many of you, if you're in healthcare, can relate, but really customer service, anything where you deal with people. So my friend is a nurse, and she's like an administrative nurse now. She doesn't do direct patient care, but she's a chief operating officer, and she was out on a patient consultation with the chief medical officer and a new hire nurse practitioner. So the reason all 3 of these people were out together, which is not usual, is because they were training this person and wanted to make sure that the new person knew exactly how the company did things. So like sort of top of the line training. So they go into a patient's home. They're all sort of dressed the same in not quite a uniform, but they all have name tags on that say their name and the name of the company. And they introduce themselves and my friend has a long conversation with the daughter of the patient about they've just been to Italy, and, the daughter's like, oh, Italy's my happy place, and, have a real good connection, have a full visit, and everyone's hunky-dory satisfied. So friend gets in the car, comes home, which is like an hour and a half drive. And by the time she's gotten to meet me for the end of the day for happy hour, like she's gotten a phone call that the people have called to complain. The daughter has called to complain to the company. And the complaint is that 3 strangers showed up and didn't introduce themselves, like didn't know why they were here, and nobody had name tags on. So like, of course, my friend, like her head wants to explode because this is sort of the opposite of what happened. And she proceeds to tell me about how they connected over Italy and the whole 9 yards. And she's like, why? Like, why are people like this? Like, what happened? And I was like, oh, I know the answer. Like, I really do. I know the answer to this. And she's like, what? I'm like, people are trifling. And she's like, oh, yeah. I'm like, the answer is that people are trifling. They don't make sense. Like, who knows exactly what happened between the time you left the door and they did this complaint phone call? My guess is that some other family came in and said, what are you guys doing? We got Betty Sue and got them off their rocker and got them all riled up and called. But I have no idea, really. The answer is people are trifling. And by trifling, I mean sort of aggravating. They do things that don't make sense. They don't make sense for their own interest, for your interest. They want to fight and quarrel. So people are trifling. And I just find that is a super useful way for me to think about many of the like nonsensical things that people do and say in the course of moving through life. So I am not alone in this assessment of humanity. So I'm sure many of you have heard of Marcus Aurelius. He was a famous Roman emperor like 2,000 years ago. But in my mind, he's, to me, most famous for he's got a bunch of writings, and they're collected in a book called Meditations. And I kind of joke to myself that he's the original life coach. So he's got all these, like, he's always trying, he's sort of a serious dude, like sort of trying to coach himself to improve and understand the world. But here's one of my favorites. So he says, when you wake up in the morning, tell yourself, the people I deal with today will be meddling, ungrateful, arrogant, dishonest, jealous, and surly. Okay, right? So here's your shortcut for that is people are trifling. So tell yourself people are trifling. I find it liberating and not aggravating. So this is meant to be helpful to you. It's not meant to be dismissive and mean. So if you're saying people are trifling and you're feeling mean, that's not the way this is intended. It's intended to give you a little bit of lightness with the frustrations of the world. So then Marcus goes on to say, basically, it's because they don't know good from evil, and he has seen both good and evil. But he also goes on to say that he understands that their nature is related to his own, and we are born to work together like hands and feet. To obstruct each other is unnatural. To feel anger at someone, to turn your back on him, these are unnatural. And so what I take from that is a couple things. One is we are trifling too. And I wholeheartedly believe this. You may not think you're trifling, but let me tell you, you're trifling to somebody sometimes. So some of the times that I think we can be trifling, doctors, a lot of times, they want to be right. They'd rather be right than come to a consensus, sometimes passive aggressive. We pretend to know more than we do sometimes. We make our administrators harass us for paperwork, for queries. I used to be so trifling about billing. I don't know why. Like, it totally didn't make sense, even to my own detriment. Like, it cost me money to drag my feet on billing, and I did it anyway. Totally trifling. Not making any sense. I just do want to say now I do my billing on time because there's a wonderful person on the other end who's waiting for it to make the list for the next day. And it's totally cured me. Now I do it on time every day because I'm very motivated to be a decent partner. And I love having the list sorted out instead of having to do it myself. So anyway, Marcus basically is saying, like, it's in our nature. We're trifling too. So you may not recognize how you're trifling, but just when you're saying, as the start of the day or when things come along, people are trifling, just keep in mind, you're trifling too. And the other thing he's saying, and I'm saying with this, is you can understand that people are trifling. They don't make sense. Like I have another good story for this, because I told another partner, I told a partner the next day, people are trifling. She was seeing a very elderly person who had been admitted to the hospital for a very soft reason, to basically get some outpatient studies done because the logistics were proving hard. Well, she goes to see this little lady, and they have an interaction about, like, I need my tea served, which is like not how the hospital goes. And, she's not sure she wants this test, which is the whole reason her doctor wanted her to the hospital, like this whole thing. And my partner was like feeling very frustrated, sort of maddened, because like this whole thing does not make sense. And I'm like, oh, like, seriously, good news. Like, people are trifling. Like, you don't have to understand the whys and wherefores. Like, this little old lady's trifling. And what we get to do is not get angry about it, not like worsen the situation by trying to force sense on people when sense is not forthcoming. What we get to do is decide what our job is in that situation, which is probably like explain the choices as best possible. Then, of course, the person gets to make their own decision. Our job, and our job also when people are trifling is to set boundaries. So they can be trifling, and we get to come in, be very clear what our job is, medical decision-making, explaining to the best of our abilities what the situation is, whatever, or, if you're not in the medical field, whatever your job is, like, you get to decide, you're going to show up and do your job. People are being trifling. And then you get to set boundaries. So you don't have to keep explaining. You don't have to bend yourself into a pretzel to keep trifling people from being trifling. And it makes moving through the world, and especially moving through the hospital, a little lighter and easier. So that's my little notion for you guys today. See if you like to play around with the idea in a lighthearted way that people are trifling. You don't have to fix the trifling people. You are trifling. And it's all good news. Good news. People are trifling. All right. That's what I got for you this week. See you next week. Thanks so much for joining me today. If you like this episode, you're going to love working with me directly. Sign up for email updates from me in the show notes. I'll send you a fun email every week called Friday Favorites. Everyone loves it. Or if you're ready to get started creating your rich and interesting life, book a free consultation with me to explore working together one-on-one. I can't wait to meet you. You'll find these links and other resources in the show notes. See you next week.